video is probably gonna take me so long to film. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought, as kind of continuing my, I don't know how you would describe it, just like kind of introducing myself, as this is only my second video on this channel. And because I am going to be talking about movies on this channel, I thought it would be only appropriate to do my top 20 movies of all time. And I was originally going to do top 10 because I didn't at first I didn't want this video to be too long, so I was like, I'll just do top 10. But then it became too hard to come up with just 10 movies, and so I chose 20. So hopefully this video is not too long, but we'll see how this goes. And so for this list, I have tried to put together a list of movies. Sorry, I'm looking over at my list that's right next to me, but I try to do a combination of different genres, so also you guys can see kind of my interests, or my favorites in kind of all of the genres. Honestly, think about it, there really isn't a true ranking or order to this list, even though I will be saying it as if it's a ranked order. But really the only part of this list that's truly ranked is my top maybe 5 or 6. The rest of the list kind of changes every day, and also is kind of just in kind of no particular order. I just kind of put them down. So like I said before, this list can honestly change day to day. So yeah, there's that. So first at number 20 is a movie that I would personally say defined my childhood, and I watched this movie so much when I was a kid, and it is probably my favorite true comedy, and that is A Night in the Museum. Now, this I literally remember because I was I've always been the type of person basically from a very young age where I just always had to have something playing for me to go to sleep. And when I was little, that was movies, and now obviously now that I'm older, that's honestly just graduated to just YouTube videos at this point. but when I was younger, it was movies, because I wasn't allowed to have a phone or anything in my room with me. So when I was younger, that was movies. And one of the movies that I watched so much to just fall asleep to was A Night in the Museum. I don't know, it's just the whole concept of just this tablet that makes it so all of the exhibits in the Smithsonian, not the Smithsonian, that's the second movie, Natural History Museum, yeah, the natural in New York can come to life. And there's so many good performances in this movie. I mean, obviously the standout for me is probably Robin Williams as Teddy Roosevelt, which is honestly probably the first role I ever saw Robin Williams in. I know he's more well known for the genie and unlike other roles, but I first saw him as Teddy Roosevelt in Night in the Museum. And there's just so many funny moments in this movie. If you know the monkey just slaps him. I love, which I don't hear a lot of people talk about with this movie, I love Dick Van Dyke as this kind of twist villain, or Dick Van Dyke is kind of the leader of them, and then there's the other three, like, old Night Guards, and they kind of become, like, twist villains in a way. Spoilers if you haven't seen this, but, like, they kind of become, like, the twist villains in a way, which I feel like is something that isn't, like, expected a lot. Like, or just like, to me, like, ever since I was, like, little, it was just, like, I just found it to be, like, such an amazing, like, twist to a movie. So yeah, that's number 20. At number 19, I have my favorite Christmas movie, and that is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 1966, I'm pretty sure. Yes. The 60s one, the OG. Now, I know, like, not a lot of people may consider this to be a movie because it's only, like, I believe it's only, like, I don't even think it's an hour long. And it's literally just, like, quote for quote, like, the Dr. Seuss book, which is a children's book, which is not a long book. But I just loved it. I literally have, watched it on, like, I originally started watching it with my grandparents, like, on VHS, and then I got the DVD, like, for my, like, because the VHS that I had belonged to my grandparents. Then I got my own DVD of it, and I just love it, and I love how it's just, like, it's literally just the Dr. Seuss book, just as, like, this animated thing, and I love that about it. And I know this might be a hot take, which, don't get me wrong, I do love the Jim Carrey version, and if you for some reason don't count the original as, like, a proper movie, I guess I could also put the Jim Carrey version at this spot too, because I do love that movie as well. At number 18, I have another movie that I used to fall asleep to all the time when I was a kid, is the original Kung Fu Panda. I love this movie. I know there's a lot of people out there that prefer the second one. I personally prefer the first one just because I think that it's just such a good origin story. I love just, like, this whole, like, thing of, like, it's, like, kind of an underdog story in a way, with, like, Po being chosen to be the Dragon Warrior even though he has, no experience with Kung Fu, and also just, and, like, Tai Lung is just such an amazing villain, and it's just, like, such an amazing movie, and I love it. At number 17, I have another animated movie, and in my opinion, probably the most, or one of the most underrated Disney movies there ever is, and that is The Emperor's New Groove. This movie is so underrated. It's so funny. There's, like, so many moments in this movie that that just make me, like, literally, like, laugh out loud. It's so amazing, and it has, like, kind of, like, I personally feel a good, like, message for kids on, like, how it's, like, not to be greedy and selfish, and Kuzco has to learn that, and, like, just, like, the whole thing of, like, Kuzco turning into a llama, and if you know the whole going over the river scene, if you know, is, like, probably my favorite scene in, like, that movie, in the movie. It's, like, hilarious. So yeah. Number 16, yes. At number 16, I have the OG 2012, The Avengers. Now, I know that, because I believe, if I have my list right, that this is probably my second favorite MCU movie, and I never thought it was. I always knew that my number one, which we'll get to later on this list, I always knew that my number one MCU movie was my number one, but I just always like thought of my number two being a different movie. And then as I thought about it more, I was like, no, The Avengers is it, because not only the original Avengers was one of the first MCU movies that I ever saw, first of all. So there's that, like, kind of special thing to it. But it's just, like, I think, like, there's just nothing like the OG original 6 Avengers coming together. And also there's just so many, like, some of my favorite moments in the entire MCU in that movie. Like, the 360 with the main Avengers theme playing is amazing. The whole scene in the tower with Tony and Loki is amazing. And then the Hulk coming in and beating the crap out of Loki. It's so good. And it's just, like, I feel like this, like, the Avengers is just, like, this is when I feel like just everybody just loved Marvel and the MCU. Well, I mean, I guess it also happened with, like, Infinity War and Endgame, but I feel like this was, like, that moment before it. And it was just, like, it was just a so much more just, like, simpler time back then, you know? So, at number 15, I have kind of a random pick, but I'm just, like, I have to have it on this list somewhere. And it's, like, just, like such an incredible, like, musical, and that is Rocky Horror Picture Show. I saw this for the first time last year, I believe. And like with this movie, you can just watch this movie on its own, and it's amazing. But I feel like what adds to this movie, and I, like, am thankful that I have gotten the opportunity to, both times I've seen this, seen it this way, is when you go to it, and not only are you watching the movie, but it's the live event where there's also real life actors, and has this, like, interactive element with, like, the audience and these props, and everybody, you know, like, dresses up, and it's just, like, amazing. I have, like, the amazing, like, opportunity that the fact that my school does it, and so I'm able to go and watch it, and it's just so incredible. So if you haven't checked out Rocky Horror Picture Show, try to see if you can see it in, like, a live setting. And, like, I mean watching the movie on its own is amazing as well, but yeah, with the movie itself, it's just, like, it's such a weird concept, and that was definitely my first impression about it when I first saw it. But it's just, like, but you just have, like, such a good time with it, and it does take you a couple, like, times of watching it to, like, really, like, kind of understand what the plot is and what's going on, and also just to kind of accept the fact that it's just a weird movie, musical, and you're like, what's going on? And also songs are bangers. Just, everything about it is amazing. At number 14, I have The Amazingness, the best DC movie probably to ever exist. I don't know, but I mean, there could be, but as of right now, at this point, I don't think another DC movie can top this movie, and that is The Dark Knight. It's just so incredible. It's my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. I know that, you know, Batman, it's, like, kind of in, like, all of Christopher Nolan's other movies are kind of just like, you know, like kind of like more serious, and I do, don't get me wrong, I do love like a bunch of Christopher Nolan's other movies. And like, is Christian Bale the best Batman? Probably not. But I feel like with Heath Ledger's Joker, it just all balances out. And like, and the fact that Heath Ledger was able to get nominated for an Oscar for this role, and also won, but it was sadly after he had passed away that he won, and it was just like, and also there's just nothing like a true Batman and the Joker story, you know? So amazing. Number 13, I have probably one of the best Spider-Man movies, and that is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. In my opinion, it's probably the best one. It's just not my personal favorite. I mean, obviously I love it. It's in my top 20 movies of all time, but I just love it. I love the animation of it. The animation of this movie is like so amazing and cool. Like, I feel like for like the longest time with like Spider-Man, it was like all we associated with Spider-Man was Peter Parker, and like with this movie we finally got to like see the other versions of Spider-Man, like Miles and Spider Noir, Gwen Stacy, Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, like all of them, and obviously even more in Across the Spider-Verse, which I do also love as well. I just love Into just a bit more, and also I didn't want to put both on this list, which honestly, probably if I was doing like one or like multiple movies from like the same like franchise, probably both Into and Across the Spider-Verse would be on here, but I just put Into just because I've watched it more. I have more sentimental value with it, and yeah, it's just amazing. Number 12, I have another movie that also basically defined my childhood, and that is The Karate Kid. I love this movie so much. I literally like have like distinct memories of laying in bed with like my mom watching this movie, and it's just so good. I'm just like a big sucker for like the 80s. Like, I love like all of like the like movies and like music and stuff that come out of the 80s. I just love all of it, and this is, which you will see with my number 1 on this list, how much I truly love 80s movies. But yeah, The Karate Kid is just like so good. And obviously because of that, I'm a big fan of Cobra Kai, and the fact that with Cobra Kai now, it's just like there's still like love for the Karate Kid franchise, and obviously like Cobra Kai is amazing, but I just think there's something just like so special about the original Karate Kid movie that's just so amazing. At number 11, I have I believe it is the newest, yes, it is the newest Steven Spielberg movie, and that is The Fabelmans. And this probably is my favorite Steven Spielberg movie, which I know you're like, what about Jurassic Park? What about Jaws? I love all of those. I love Jaws, I love Jurassic Park, I love E.T., I love the Indiana Jones movies. I love all of those movies. There's just something special that The Fabelmans just like stuck with me, and I remember seeing this movie in theaters, because I actually didn't see it, because I believe it came out in 2022, and I didn't originally see it in 2022. I think when I saw it, it was like January or February of the next year, so 2023. And because it was like in preparation for like the Oscars, because it was nominated for Best Picture and nominated for some other Oscars, which it didn't win any. I'm still kind of salty about that, but so I went and when I saw this movie in theaters, first of all, I was like sick. I had like bronchitis, and so like sitting in a movie theater when you're sick is not the best environment. Which I don't even know why I even went to see this movie if I was sick, and how I was even allowed to go and see this movie when I was sick. But anyways, I just remember being just like completely captivated by this movie when I saw it, and like it just made me think of like it made me not even be able to think about the fact that I was sick. It's a 2.5 hour long movie, which I typically don't like, and I feel like I know that's when a long movie like that is a good one, is that when there's not a moment where I'm like being like, how much time do we have left, you know, like I was truly captivated by this movie, like just throughout the entire time I was watching it. It was my favorite movie of 2022, obviously. It's just like an amazing movie, and I feel like it just captures like, and I think it's just like something about like, it's like, I know there's like a bunch of movies out there that are like, can be like considered like love letters to film, but I feel like this one doesn't get talked about enough, and I feel like it does it very well. And it's basically Steven Spielberg telling his own story, and I just love that about it. So going into my top 10 now. At number 10, I have my favorite horror movie of all time, which is Scream. And this is actually like, I'm kind of like a little bit ashamed to say this, but I actually didn't see Scream until like, I think it was like 2, maybe 3 years ago now. It was when I saw Scream for the first time. And that was honestly because I really have never been the biggest horror movie person. And for a while, I just thought that like all horror movies were just like, kind of just like bunch of like jump scares and really like scary things. And so I didn't want to watch them for like a long time. And then I finally was able to see Scream at a like kind of like little like Halloween party thing that my high school did a few years ago, like for like the seniors. And I was like, and I remember like watching it and be like, oh, really isn't that scary. And like just like the whole like thing about the, you know, 2 killers and all this, like I honestly like knew like I knew like the ghost face like mask and all that stuff, but I had no idea what the movie was even about. And so I was able to like experience the twist, you know, with the 2 killers and all that stuff for the first time, and it was just like an amazing experience. And also when I got to see it, it was on like a projected, like we like hung up a sheet and like had it like projected onto it, and it was like outside in a backyard. It was like a really like cool experience to watch it too. So that was just amazing. And yeah, it's my favorite horror movie for a reason. And yeah. At number 9, I have The Social Network. Now, this movie is just, I don't care what you say about this movie. It is an amazing movie. And I will die on that, because it's so incredibly written, so incredibly acted. Like I know everybody talks about Andrew Garfield in this movie, and yes, Andrew Garfield is amazing in this movie. And honestly, seeing Andrew Garfield like in this movie is probably what made me come to the conclusion that Andrew Garfield is probably my favorite actor. But the literal lead and who plays the main character in this movie, Jesse Eisenberg, is so, in my opinion, one of the most underrated actors. And I don't know. I've like heard some things that like he could be a bit controversial, but he's just like, his performance in this movie is amazing as well. And like, just who knew that a movie about the creation of Facebook would be as amazing as it is? But it is, and it's amazing. And yes. At number 8, I have Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This is my favorite Star Wars movie, obviously. It's just, and it's my opinion, the best Star Wars movie, my favorite Star Wars movie. I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was like probably 6 or 7 years old. It's like probably the first like really nerdy thing that I was like really into as a child. It's so amazing. So many amazing iconic moments in this movie. The music, just everything about Empire Strikes Back is just like, to me, the epitome of Star Wars. And so yeah. Number 7, I have The Greatest Showman. And oh my god, like, this movie is just so good. And I honestly, like, I kind of remember, like, I have this like memory of like not really wanting to watch this movie when it first came out, because I honestly don't remember why. I don't even remember why I was like telling people I didn't want to see this movie. But it's so amazing. And like, I listen to the music of this movie all the time. It's like, whenever I'm in like a bad mood, like the music from this movie like never fails to make me like feel just at least a bit better. It's, and like just like the story of like, you know, like this guy like originally like coming from nothing and wanting to make his life the best it can be. It's just amazing. And yeah, so at number 6, I have a movie that probably not a lot of you guys have even heard of, probably. And that is a movie called The Miracle Season. And basically what this movie is about is, it's essentially, and it's based off of a true story that happened back in, I believe, 2011, around there. It's a true story about this volleyball team, and I believe it's Indiana. And, you know, there was this volleyball team, and they had just won state, and all this stuff. And then the next year, their like star player tragically dies in a scooter accident. Yeah, in a scooter accident, she ends up passing away. And it is kind of just like the story of like how, and then, you know, after she passes away, the team kind of just like, you know, starts not performing as well. They're starting to, you know, forfeit games, and then eventually they realize that no, like, she would have, like, the girl Caroline, Caroline would have wanted us to, you know, keep going and keep trying, and keep trying to go back and win state again. And obviously they eventually end up doing that. And yeah, it's just, and also kind of like, the girl, I can't remember her name, but the girl who was Caroline's best friend is the one that kind of takes over her position, and it's a really amazing movie. It's actually for free on YouTube, so go and check it out. It's really good, and I love it. At number 5, I have Tick, Tick, Boom. Like I said before, I am very much a musical person, and also, like I said before, Andrew Garfield is probably my favorite actor of all time, and so those two together, it's just amazing. And like, I just love the fact that Andrew Garfield like was just like so committed to this role. He learned to sing and play the piano for this role. I love the story of it, and also knowing the story of Jonathan Larson is such like amazing but also tragic story. And also once you see and like know what Rent is about, and then you go and watch this movie, it just like hits completely differently. So yeah, I just love Tick, Tick, Boom, and obviously it's Andrew Garfield, and it's also Lin-Manuel Miranda directing this movie. Like, it's like, it's gonna be amazing. Like with Lin-Manuel Miranda, it's gonna be amazing, at least amazing in some way. So again, amazing movie. Now at number 4, I have a movie that I feel like is completely underrated in my opinion, and even though it literally won Best Picture at the Oscars, but I don't see anybody talking about it, and that is CODA, or as it stands for, Child of a Deaf Adult. I actually just saw this movie like not even a year ago. It was probably like 3 or 4 months ago at this point, is when I saw this movie for the first time. But immediately after I saw this movie, I was like, this is immediately going in like at least my Letterboxd top 4, because it's just an amazing movie. Like, it's just like so amazing. And also like, I've always been like kind of captivated by deaf culture, and also I love music, and so like this movie is just like, it's just so amazing. If you don't know, basically, if you don't know what it's about this girl who is a CODA, or a child of a deaf adult, and she is basically the only hearing person in her family. And both her parents and her older brother are all deaf, but she's the only hearing one, so kind of her whole life she has had to like, talk for them and communicate for them. And basically she finds her love for singing and wants to go to Juilliard, and so she's kind of like battling that like kind of thing, is like, does she go to Juilliard and like pursue her dreams of music, or stay and help her family? And yeah, it's a really amazing movie. And the her choir teacher, like the choir teacher in this movie, is hilarious too. So go check out CODA if you haven't seen it. And yeah, number 3, we have my favorite MCU movie, and that is No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home. I know it's probably not the best movie, but I don't care. It's my favorite MCU movie. It's just, Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, and this movie just meant so much to me. I was able to see it when I saw this in theaters for the first time. It was the first time I was able to go to the movies back at home in Maine, where I grew up, and it was just, I literally like have the ticket for this movie on my wall in my room, or my room like at home, because it's just, I just want to remember that forever, and just like seeing just like the 3 Spider-Man and all the villains. It was just so amazing, and I feel like it really like even though this is like the third like out of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, it really like was like kind of like the real like kind of the ending was really like the real like origin story that like we needed, and it was just amazing. For number 2, we have not only my favorite Disney movie, but also my favorite animated movie of all time, and that is Beauty and the Beast. Now, I just love this movie. I've loved the story of this movie for so long, even though like there's kind of the whole, you know, Stockholm syndrome of it all, but I can kind of forgive that in a way, just because just like the animation. This was like one of the few animated movies that has been nominated for Best Picture. It's just so amazing and so good. The songs are beautiful. But I love this movie. It's so beautiful and incredible, and yeah, I will. And also Belle's also probably my favorite Disney princess as well. So there's that too. So, and the moment we've all been waiting for. My number 1 favorite movie of all time, and it wasn't until like very recently that I realized this, and I feel like I honestly kind of shocked myself when I realized this, but then I was kind of like, it makes sense, but then I was kind of like, it makes sense as to why this movie is number 1. And that movie is Back to the Future. This movie is just, to me, like, the perfect movie for me. Like, it has that little bit of sci-fi in it with the time travel. To me, it's just the perfect movie for me. I love it so much. And probably Marty and like the duo of Marty and Doc. Again, as you can see, I love the 80s. And then the song Power of Love. It's just, I just love everything about this movie, and to me it's perfection. That is my top 20 favorite movies of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and comment down below what some of your favorite movies of all time are, and also I'm interested in making a couple more of these kind of like get to know me style videos where it's like I'm talking about like a list of like my favorites of all time, so I can do like my favorite TV shows of all time. I'm open to do like some with music, so like my favorite songs of all time, my favorite albums of all time, just like any of those other types of videos that you guys want to see, let me know down below. And make sure and like this video and subscribe if you are interested in continuing on following me on this journey, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.